Well, hello everybody to a really interesting Friday. I hope you're all good wherever you are. It's been quite the day for me for two reasons, both of them great. As you can tell, I'm doing the video outside. I'm doing it in Greenwood Cemetery, which is where I often come for walks and I'm trying to work out the story, things I'm doing. So I'm going to stand up and see if I can show you some of what it's like. I'm sat right now by a really beautiful lake. In the shadow of this really great tree, and if you come down here, and again you can see a lot of the mausoleums that line the outskirts of the lake, and a lot of these are absolutely gorgeous, hundreds of years old places. There's a really nice topology change as well when you walk around here. There's some really good hikes and good elevation changes, which when I'm trying to think about a story, this is where I'll come and walk around and try and work out what's happening next. Right, I'm going to sit down again because it's hot. It's one of those kind of muggy Brooklyn days where it's overcast, but it's still, still scorching. So as you can see, I am wearing a suit. There's my jacket in my bag, and that is because today I became an American. That's right. I had my oath swearing in Manhattan, where I was welcomed into this great country finally. I'm no longer a foreigner. Really unexpected, because last night I was out in Manhattan in a restaurant and I got a voicemail. And the voicemail said it was a reminder this morning to be at the immigration center at 10 a.m. and to bring 2 photographs and a bunch of other forms. Now, I'd not had any prior notice. Normally get something through the mail or an email that says your meeting is in 12 weeks time. So to have such short notice was great. It was great to get it done, but also it was great that it was out on book release day as well. So I had to get up this morning, get all this crap together and get out there. And it's really made me think about a lot of stuff. I can't even remember the year I came to the US. I think maybe like 2005, something like that. So I've been here like 15 years, something in that sort of range. I only came over for 3 months. I was working as an architect in London for the architectural firm KPF, a firm that's always treated me very well, and they're a fantastic company. And through them, I moved to New York, and it was just for 3 months. And I came over here to work on the New York Jets Stadium when it was proposed that it was going to be built in Manhattan. I had some large span structure stuff and experience in my previous job at a company called Grimshaw. So that project died after 3 months of being here because of politics. Building anything in Manhattan is a political nightmare. But at that point I had met somebody and I wanted to stay, so I stayed. And then here I am 15 years later, married with kids in Brooklyn. I went from KPF after 3 years. I left there and then I went to the British architectural firm Grimshaw, which I'd also worked at in London. And I had a wonderful period of time there as well, working on some fantastic architecture. Yeah, and then I made a bit of a mistake. Sometimes in life you make mistakes. I had kids, that's not the mistake. Having kids is great. But I then decided to take a corporate job at a company called Gensler to the sales pitch was to have more time off, have more of a family balance and earn more money. And of course, people will say anything to get you into a job. But once I was there, it was very different. They're a big commercial firm. Their job is to make money. Quality of work is important, but not that important. It's a bad fit right from the start. And after 4 years, I think I did some really good work there. And they thought the best thing they could possibly do was to fire me on a Wednesday morning. And so I went into work and then found my phone and my keys and my locker taken from me, and then I was out on the streets. At the time I was really upset, but I did a lot of things wrong there. I could have been better, all that sort of stuff. It's all in the past now. And what is important is then I decided that I'd had enough of being an architect, and I started to write again. And the first book I wrote was book 2 in this series, This Automatic Eden. And there's a scene really early on in that book, if you've managed to get through it, because it's pretty dense at times, where Alice is in a garage, kind of empty, run down, and she is making a sculpture And she sat there and she's smoking a cigarette and she's looking at this thing and realizing that she's, it's not any good, but she didn't know what else to do. It was just a way of filling the hours. Because either that or going, and jumping in front of a bus. And that was how I was at the time. I was sat in a house by myself, writing stuff that I didn't think was very good, and thinking like, if I don't do this, then I really should just go and jump in front of a bus because there's nothing else in my life. But slowly that story took shape, and it led me into the whole kind of universe of Cortex. And I remember writing about a third of the book and getting to the point where you meet one of the AI for the first time. And then that's when I really thought, I need to think about this world in a bit more detail. So I took a break from the writing and I sat down and I ended up designing what the flying cars looked like and what some of the architecture was going to be like, all that sort of fun stuff, what the weapons would be like and the clothing and that sort of things. And that's what's in my mailing list, all the stuff that I send out to my mailing list. It's the stuff that I did when I was working as an illustrator after being an architect. And people seem to really like it. So if you're not on my mailing list, then check it out. But I wrote This Automatic Eden, and I was thinking of traditionally publishing it, but I'd been down that road before, and I'd been really burned by an agent and a publisher in London. I won't go into much detail about it, but I decided after that I'd rather quit the profession than go through that process again. So when it came to the point now that I could self-publish, I jumped straight into it. Like anything, I didn't do the research beforehand, and I didn't quite realize the amount of work you have to do, but I'd rather work for myself in these hours than for somebody else. And I wrote a short story. The idea being that short story was going to be just something I gave away for free. Hello, there's somebody in the background taking photographs. Hello. But that ended up, because it wasn't very good, ended up being a 55,000 word novel that was a Paradise Factory. So I wrote book 1 second. And I published both of those last year, and it was right at the start of the pandemic. And I think, like a lot of people, I thought the pandemic was going to be a couple of months, and then everything will be back to normal. So I published those, and then the New York schools closed and my kids were home. And so I was in this really interesting position of trying to start a new career and put books out there that I spent nearly 4 years working on. At the same time as not having any time to do anything because I suddenly had my little children at home, and they were, it was really, really, really hard for them suddenly to be cut off from all of their friends and their community. And so I ended up basically having to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and grab an hour here and an hour there, and trying to be creative when I'm tired is not my strong suit. So, but I sat down and I ground out the Genesis engine. And when I say ground out, I'm very lucky to be writing, and I really, really enjoyed that process. But towards the end, and especially this year when it was being edited, it was just like, I've got to do it, got to do it, got to do it. Like a job, like a day job, you have to get it done. And it's late, 6 months late, because I had an editor, and that editor quit on me. They had things to do. It took me like a couple of months to find another editor. They did a fantastic job. Then I had to get a copy editor. They didn't do a very good job, and they were really late. I had to get another copy editor on top. Each one of these costing like $1,000 a time. And then I got find like a proof editor that goes through and checks stuff, and she seemed great. And then she went into hospital for a procedure, didn't tell me, and suddenly and then the book is 3 months delayed again. So these things happen, and everybody's had a really weird year. But the Genesis engine was finished in January, and now it's coming out in September. And one of the things that I've learned about self-publishing is its rapid release. People have a tendency to just churn books out, and most of them are really not very good quality, as I'm sure you know. But the idea being that 18 months is crazy, way, way, way too long. The people who like my early books will have forgotten all about me. I mean, maybe you're seeing this now after only reading book 3, like 5 years after I wrote it, something like that. So I need to find a way to change the process of production of books. I don't know what that is right now. I don't know whether it's writing quicker or changing the type of books I write. I don't think I can do it quicker, just because I've got to raise my kids, and they take a lot of looking after. I never knew that beforehand, but you have to, have to feed them, have to wash them, have to help them with their homework, have to take them to school, pick them up, buy them clothes. It's all really annoying, all that stuff. So the LSU trilogy is done. Done. It's complete. 3 novels, 4 novellas. Really nice circle of work, I think. And the Genesis engine is the best thing I've ever done. And now I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next. The original idea was a new trilogy about the character John Risk, who is introduced in the Genesis engine, and he is works for the United Nations as a special agent, and his job is to track down and assassinate illegal or rogue mechanical intelligences. And so what I'm thinking right now is, instead of writing 3 books of like 100,000 words, 350 pages, I might do 6 books and make them half that length, like 200 pages. A lot of indie books are short in size, so people can pump them out, and I'm not going to pump them out, but this might be a way in which I can release a book every year as opposed to every 18 months. But I'll keep you in touch about that sort of stuff. But the most important thing is I now am officially American. I live in Brooklyn, and I have this beautiful park to come and think in, and I'm going to take some time off from writing for a while. I'm broke. I need to earn some money through illustrations. Then when I get my inspiration back, I'm not feeling quite so frazzled from this all, I'm going to start on Intelligence Assassin, which is the working title of the John Risk Book 1. At the end of the Genesis engine, he has been tasked to go somewhere and kill an MI running an illegal cartel. And I have an idea for the trilogy. I can't really say. But it ends up on Mars, and it has a lot to do with spaceships and the nature of intelligence, and whether your body that you inhabit is who you are, or is an intelligent spaceship just as much as a living, sentient being as we are. Plus, the usual tense action scenes. He's out in the wilderness by himself trying to do this stuff, and things get very risky for him. Yes, he's very talented, but the world is a dangerous place, as you know if reading my books. All right, I'm rambling because it's the end of this phase of my life right now. The books are out, I'm American, I'm gonna have some ice cream and play with my kids. And once more, I'll give you a view of this amazing cemetery, but effect that a park that I'm in right now. Thank you so much for being with me, following me, not unsubscribing from my emails. People get annoyed by them, whatever. Have a wonderful end of 2021, and hopefully I'll have a book or something interested in reading next year.